Hello, my name is Warren E. Freeman Jr. This is episode 77. This is my third video I'm doing. Will my voice hold up? We'll find out. Alright, this is WrestleMania 33 review, my review of last year's WrestleMania. I took a sabbatical after the Fastlane pay-per-view last year. So that's why I'm just now doing WrestleMania 33. And what better way to do it than the eve of WrestleMania Sunday? So let's get it done. Yeah. So we kick off the show with AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon. Before we even get started with this WrestleMania, one thing I liked about this WrestleMania, as opposed to WrestleMania 32, is that it was actual wrestling on the show. Hence the title WrestleMania. And each match on this show had a purpose and had a story. And, I mean, you can't beat that. So, AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon. For anybody that thought this was a waste of AJ Styles, is a fucking idiot. Let's just get that out the way. The story here was AJ Styles trying to get to WrestleMania. That was the whole story. So, Randy Orton wins the Royal Rumble. He gives up his WrestleMania match because he doesn't want to fight his master, Bray Wyatt. Then he changes his mind and decides that he does want to face Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. But this is after AJ Styles has defeated Luke Harper and has jumped through all these hoops to get to WrestleMania. So then we get AJ Styles and Randy Orton wins. And AJ Styles flips out backstage in Gorilla on Shane McMahon, which is ironic because it was Shane McMahon, who was the commissioner of SmackDown at the time, that was on board, that was in AJ's corner. It was Shane McMahon that wanted AJ to go to WrestleMania, and Daniel Bryan, being the GM, kind of wanted Randy Orton, wanted tradition. You know, Randy Orton won the Royal Rumble, and this, that, and the third, so he should go to WrestleMania. So it's ironic that AJ Styles flipped on Shane. So they get in a screaming match backstage. They're separated by like Road Dogg and some other agents. They did a good job of making this look as realistic as they possibly could. So what does AJ do next week? He jumps Shane McMahon in the parking lot and puts his head through a car window. Daniel Bryan fires AJ Styles for this, but then Shane McMahon comes back out, concussed and all, saying that, oh, AJ doesn't have a match at WrestleMania. Well, he does now. And then that's how they met at WrestleMania. The match was a 3.5 as far as openers. And you can think I'm crazy if you want. I am a little biased because I'm a Shane McMahon mark. I even made the joke of, look how good Shane McMahon is making AJ Styles look. I made the joke at that party and everybody gave me shit for it. But everyone that knows me knows I'm a Shane McMahon mark. So it is what it is. Fight me, bro. And fight me, bro, with this comment I'm about to make. I will put this opening match up there with one of the greater opening matches of WrestleMania. I will put it up there with Owen and Brett, fight me. I will put it up there with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, fight me. It was good. They even managed to do the damn trash can spot with the referee being conveniently knocked out, of course. Now, I'm not that much of a mark that I'm going to put this opening match above Owen and Brett and above Eddie and Ray. Absolutely not. But it deserves to be in the damn conversation. And if you disagree, fight me, bro. Alright. So, that got a 3.5. Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho for the U.S. title got a 3. If you watch Kevin Owens 365 on the WWE Network, apparently Vince McMahon didn't like the match very much. I think given the story that they had going into it, I think the match was fine. I don't know why Vince didn't like it, but that's Vince's opinion, which is a pretty strong opinion. I'm not saying let's just completely shit on Vince McMahon's opinion, but apparently Vince didn't like the match. But the story was, I mean, concrete. They had the best friends gimmick all year in 2016. Basically, ever since Kevin Owens won the Universal title. They were tag partners at SummerSlam prior to that, but it was really when Owens won the Universal title that they became besties. Then Jericho would win the U.S. title at the end of the year, where they were not only besties, but they were unstoppable. They had both the main belts on Raw at the time. This all culminated in the Festival of Friendship in Las Vegas, where Jericho put on this elaborate Las Vegas show, basically displaying their friendship. And Owens turned on him and put him through the Festival of Friendship sign, and it was a big deal. And then Jericho cost Owens the Universal title against Goldberg. And I threw up a little bit in my mouth when I said that sentence. And then that would eventually lead to their U.S. title match at WrestleMania because Jericho was still U.S. champion. Owens would win. The ending was a little weird because he just did the pop-up powerbomb and then he just pinned him. Other than that, the match to me was fine, but Vince didn't like it. Whatever. Alright, going on to Bayley versus Charlotte versus Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks in a Fatal 4-Way elimination match. I'm going to do both women's matches right here because this match got 12 minutes, and then the SmackDown women's match, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Becky, Carmella, Mickie James, and Natalya got 5. So combined, these matches got 17 minutes. And in the Fatal 4-Way elimination match, I can understand why I got 12 because it was an elimination match. Bayley retained the women's title, last eliminating Charlotte with the elbow, and it was the only time with the Macho Man elbow. Dang it! And it was the only time that Bayley looked strong during her title reign. The only time that Bayley looked strong. As I'm sure I've talked about in the Royal Rumble and in the Elimination Chamber videos. I mean, well, Bayley lost the Rumble, but she had help from Sasha. And, I mean, Bayley did it on her own at WrestleMania, and that was the only time she looked strong. Naomi returned to her hometown in Orlando to win the SmackDown Women's title, but it was like a 6-pack challenge, and the match was 5 minutes long. So, he didn't have enough time to really get invested in the match because it was 5 minutes. And it was kind of used as a buffer between Brock and Goldberg and Romans and between Reigns and Lesnar, and I kind of understand that, but I think given the fact that it was on the network, they could have gave that match a little bit more time than they did, and they didn't. That being said, the Fatal 4-Way I gave a 3.2, and the 6-pack challenge, or the 5-pack challenge, or whatever it was, on SmackDown, I gave that a 2.5 just because I didn't have enough time to get invested in it. Naomi winning was predictable. We were in her hometown. She had beaten Alexa Bliss the month prior, but got injured. So it was, on top of the fact of Naomi winning was predictable, the match was short. He didn't have enough time to get invested in the moment. That's why I rated that match as low as I did. Okay, moving back up, I have The Bar versus Enzo and Cass versus The Club in a triangle ladder match for the tag titles. Or would it be? Of course not. The Hardys would come back and it would be a Fatal 4-Way. I gave this match a 3.8. And admittedly, I probably gave the match higher than I normally would have given it. But just the reaction of the Hardys coming back. That is the loudest pop that I could remember hearing at WrestleMania. I mean, Rollins popped the crowd when he cashed in. Daniel Bryan kind of popped the crowd, but it was kind of predictable he was going to win. But the Hardys coming back was the loudest pop. I mean, that building just erupted. And the crowd was hot throughout the entire match. Like I said in my last video when I talked about Rock and Hogan, if the crowd was mute, that match would have sucked. The crowd made that match. The crowd made this match. And the crowd made that moment as soon as you saw the Hardys come out. They teased the New Day as the 4th member because the New Day came out. And they said, I wonder who it's going to be. And then the Hardys came out. And explosion. It was crazy. Uh, Probably the best moment of the night, without a doubt, the best moment of the night, the loudest moment of the night, the loudest crowd reaction of the night. Of course, the Hardys would win, and they would win the Raw Tag Titles. Uh, and to their service, yeah, they're older, but they would go on to have matches with the Bar. They would feud with the Bar later on that year, and would have kick-ass matches. Jeff Hardy would get injured, and Matt Hardy would become broken, and then the rest is history. I thought it was a disservice when the Hardys were on the pre-show match at SummerSlam that year. That just pissed me off. I'm like, what the fuck? You have the Hardys in one of the highest rated segments at WrestleMania on the main card, and they get relegated to the pre-show? Sinful. Absolutely sinful. We go to Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice, and this was a house show match with an engagement in Al Roker. That was it. Cena win because Cena wins lol. Cena wins with Cena hitting the Attitude Adjustment and Nikki hitting the sloppy TKO that I fucking hate on Maurice. And then Cena proposes to Nikki. I'm not gonna lie, this was an emotional moment. When I rewatched it, I think it was on Total Divas, or it might have been on the WWE 24 special on the network. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up when I watched it on the network, on the WWE 24 thing on the network. I teared up because it was emotional. I teared up when Vince teared up backstage. It was an emotional moment. That being said, the match didn't suck, but it was basically it was a house show match. It was a house show match with an engagement at the end of it and Al Roker. That was it. And Jerry Lawler on commentary for some reason. Because puppies! I don't know. Moving on. Rollins versus Triple H. Originally, I gave this a 3.6. Originally, I thought this match was long as fuck. It was too long. Originally, that's what I thought. When I looked it up on Wikipedia to get the match time, it was like 25 minutes and some change. But then when I sat back and thought about it, I'm like, you know what? These guys are telling a hell of a story here. And that's in order for that story to be told properly, it needs to go a half hour. That's the argument that I have for Triple H and Shawn Michaels when I'm countering that argument, how their Hell in a Cell match went 40 minutes. Admittedly, yeah, it was maybe 10 minutes too long, but you're telling 10 years of a rivalry, of being best friends and then turning on each other, and you need that length of time to tell that story. The difference between the Hell in a Cell match and this match, Triple H and Rollins at WrestleMania last year, is that the Hell in a Cell match had a lot of rest spots, which is why the match was 46 minutes long. This match didn't have as many rest spots. So the story behind this really dates back to 2012 when Rollins was in NXT. It was still a developmental territory at the time, and he became the first NXT champion. Triple H was his biggest supporter during then. Then Rollins would form the Shield. Or my throat's starting to hurt. Then the Shield would form at Survivor Series 2012 that year with Rollins, Roman, and Dean Ambrose. The way Punk tells the story, it was his idea, and his idea was to be Chris Hero, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, but I digress. Anyway, so Rollins is in that little group with the Shield. Basically a mini Nexus, the way Nexus should have been built. I mean, they squashed everybody that was in front of them. Ryback, Cena, Sheamus, Orton, all those guys. Even The Rock. They beat up The Rock, for God's sakes. So they did a good job of getting the Shield over. You knew the Shield was going to eventually break up. I thought Dean Ambrose would be the breakout person in the Shield. That's just who I enjoyed the most. From an athletic standpoint, Rollins was my favorite, but as a character, Dean Ambrose was kind of my favorite. Roman was just whatever. I mean, I didn't hate Roman, but whatever. So Rollins would end up being a breakout star, which I really can't even say that because all three members of the Shield would win the WWE title. But despite that, I'm still going to go with Rollins as the breakout star. He would turn heel in the group and join up with the Authority with Triple H, Big Show, Kane, Orton, Stephanie McMahon, that whole group. That storyline would last for an agonizing year. Rollins would win Money in the Bank and all this. He would cash in on Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Well, technically on Lesnar, but he pinned Reigns at WrestleMania 31. As I mentioned, that's one of the loudest crowd pops at WrestleMania. So Rollins had a measly title reign, which I need a whole video to discuss that. Anyway, Rollins' reign would end when he would hurt his knee in a house show match against Kane. He would try to powerbomb Kane, and the weight of Kane and maybe him just trying to powerbomb a 300-pound man would crack his knee. His ACL, his meniscus, all this shit was fucked up. So Rollins would have to drop the title. And that's kind of where this starts because, of course, Reigns would win the belt, and then Triple H would win the belt, then Reigns would win the belt, and then Rollins would come back after his injury. When Rollins came back, I don't know why the WWE did this. Like, the WWE made this emotional WWE 24 video compilation on the network, and I swear I tear up in every one of these videos. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the music or whatever. But anyway, they make this beautiful WWE 24 documentary about Rollins' recovery from his knee injury into coming back into the WWE. So fans are excited to see Rollins. They're ready for Rollins to come back. And you would think they would reintroduce Rollins into the fold as a face, right? It worked for Triple H with his quad injury. He came back as a face, despite being one of the most hated men in the WWE at that point. When Triple H returned in 2002 in Madison Square Garden with his quad injury, he was a face. You would think they would do that with Rollins. No, they bring him back as a heel and says, I don't care about... He basically shits on the fans for sending them all his goodwill wishes, basically saying, I did it by myself, and I'm still a heel. He even still had to laugh, but Kevin Owens put an end to that, thank God. Anyway, we go to SummerSlam. Seth Rollins is number one contender for the Universal title. But Balor wins despite dislocating his shoulder. But it's a lot more than a dislocation because Balor's out for damn near a year. Well, until Mania. So Rollins fails to win back the Universal title. Then there's a Fatal 4-Way match for the vacant US or Universal title, which is Rollins, Big Cass, Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns. One of those people do not belong. Anyway, Fatal 4-Way elimination match. It comes down to Rollins and Kevin Owens. Roman Reigns is eliminated by Triple H with a pedigree, which he helps Rollins pin Reigns with that. And then it comes down to Owens and Rollins, and you think that Triple H is going to help Rollins win. And then he turns around, pedigrees Rollins, and Owens wins the Universal title. And then Kevin Owens goes on to have a measly title reign, but I need another video to discuss that. So, after this, Rollins is enraged. He gets into a feud with Kevin Owens over the title, but in the middle of all this, he's calling out Triple H, constantly calling out Triple H, wanting to fight Triple H, demanding an explanation from Triple H for why he did what he did. Triple H doesn't show up, but he's feuding with Kevin Owens here, and he loses at Night of Champions, where Triple H does show up backstage, but that's not really talked about much. He loses to Kevin Owens again inside Hell in a Cell, thanks to Jericho, because they're besties now. They're like this. And in the midst of all this, Seth Rollins is still calling out Triple H. Doesn't get an answer. He gets put on the Team Raw to face SmackDown, and it's revealed on Raw that Seth Rollins is owed a favor for being a part of Team Raw. And it's never revealed what that favor is. So I guess the WWE writing team must have forgotten about that point in the story. We jump forward to NXT Takeover Dallas or wherever they were for that WrestleMania, Orlando. Seth Rollins interrupts the show and calls out Triple H. We finally get Triple H, but it's him standing on the rampway, and then he does this, and then the security guards come out and escort Rollins from the building. The reason for this was because Rollins' Royal Rumble spot was on the line on Raw when he fought Sami Zayn. Triple H's music played, Rollins was distracted, Sami Zayn got the win, and Rollins got kicked out of the Royal Rumble. So that was another reason why Triple H or Seth Rollins showed up at NXT or TakeOver to confront Triple H. The night after the Rumble, Triple H does show up to confront Rollins, and he's jumped by Samoa Joe. He injures his knee, kayfabe, and basically that entire build-up between the Rumble and WrestleMania is Triple H basically trying to get Rollins not to compete at WrestleMania. He even makes Rollins sign an agreement saying that if Rollins is hurt, that Triple H can't be held liable, the WWE can't be held liable, all that shit. So we finally get to WrestleMania, and in this 25-minute, 30-minute match, they are telling this story that I basically just told you in that match. Triple H works Rollins' knee because that's the story. It's really like Triple H and Rollins is kind of like a better version of Triple H and Chris Jericho. Honestly, from WrestleMania 18, it's just a more updated, better version of that match. And what's better about that match is the match itself. The story behind the match is the focal point, not Stephanie McMahon, even though she's at ringside. In the Triple H Jericho match, they tell the story of Triple H's quad, and you show Jericho working that quad with the walls of Jericho, constantly going after the leg. In this match of Triple H and Rollins, they tell the story of Rollins' bum knee. So the figure four, Indian Deathlock, they do move. Triple H attacks the knee. They do a good job telling that story. Stephanie McMahon being out there had a purpose, and she also served a purpose in the Triple H Jericho match. In the Triple H Jericho match, she served a purpose for being out there and for being a foil for Triple H. She served a purpose for being a foil for Triple H, for being a foil for Seth Rollins, but it would ultimately end up being a foil for Triple H. Stephanie was on the apron. Triple H Seth Rollins dodged Triple H. Triple H headbutted Stephanie. Stephanie went to the table. Triple H got mad, turned around into a pedigree for the win for Rollins. Also, the entrances for this match was awesome. Seeing Triple H come out on that motorcycle with Stephanie behind him, it was like some Sons of Anarchy shit. It was awesome to see that. And then you see Rollins come out with the torch. And this was cheesy, but it was cool to me. Rollins comes out with the torch, lit on fire. He puts the torch onto the floor, and then the LED lights light up on fire. And it shoots all the way down that 80-yard ramp, up into the ring post, up into the pillars. It was awesome. It was an awesome sight. Great match. I gave that a 3.6. We go to Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt defending the WWE title against Randy Orton. This was a house show match with ring effects. That was it. Randomly throughout the match, you would get like an overhead shot of the ring, and you see like an overhead projection of beetles and bees and bugs and worms. And that was it. Orton hit RKO on the outside of the ring, and then he hit an RKO in the ring out of nowhere, and Orton won. That was it. That was that. A house show match with screen projected images under the ring. WrestleMania. Then we get Brock versus Goldberg, which was a train wreck in a good way. This was like 5 or 6 minutes, but it was awesome. You saw Suplex City Bitch. You saw a spear through the barricade. You saw another spear. You saw a jackhammer. Lesnar kicked out. You saw a spear, which Lesnar jumped over the spear, which was awesome. You saw a Suplex City Bitch again. You saw an F5, and you saw a title change. It was by no means a classic. It was not a technical masterpiece, but it was what it needed to be, and it was perfectly fine. I already talked about the SmackDown Women's Title match, so I'm going on to Roman Reigns and Undertaker, which was a 3. This was just there. It wasn't a bad match, but it was just there. The only reason why it was the main event was because Taker lost. And then you saw the image of Taker taking his hat and his gloves and his coat off in the ring and leaving it. And that was pretty much it. There was a spear to the table. Roman Reigns did what I like to call the WrestleMania spear, where he runs off the ropes twice before he hits the spear. I call that the WrestleMania spear because he did that to Triple H. Except he ducked the sledgehammer when he did it, and then he hit the spear. With Undertaker, he just ran off the ropes twice, back and forth, and hit the spear, and that was it. I gave that a 3. Reviewing all the reviews now. AJ Styles and Shane got a 3.5. KO and Jericho got a 3. The Raw Women's Title match got a 3.2. The Fatal 4-Way Ladder match got a 3.8. The Mixed Tag match got a 2. Rollins and Triple H got a 3.6. Orton and Bray got a 2.3. Brock Goldberg got a 3. The SmackDown Women's Title match got a 2.5. Reigns and Taker got a 3. When you average it all, it comes out to a 2.99, and hey, I'll be nice. I will give it a 3. So that was WrestleMania 33. I'm going to do my WrestleMania 34 prediction video next, and I'm going to go Facebook Live when I do it. That was my thoughts on WrestleMania 33. So that's the end of this video, and I hope you guys have a nice day.